for joining us. Today is our very first speaker series for this year. We're very excited. Just once again, a reminder, we are recording this speaker event today. And if you don't want to be a part of the recording, we do ask that you turn off your camera. John Gonzalez will be monitoring the chat. So if you do have questions, he will be facilitating that for us today. So today's meeting or event is going to be focused on the rental assistance in times of COVID-19. To give you a little bit of a setting the scene here, right? So go backwards to August of 2020. We heard of the CARES Act funding being passed. Solano County was going to receive approximately $45 million. And most of the counties were receiving some sort of CARES Act funding. The CARES Act funding was intended to meet economic need faced by the counties as they responded to COVID-19. And that's where our story really starts. And it starts not just with Catholic Charities Yola Solano, but it starts with our parishes, our community members, and Common Ground. One of the things that we saw that was amazing, and it really speaks to who we are, our parishes were calling parishioners. How are you doing? What's going on? What's your need? You know, something very basic, something to get to know not only those who used to sit next to you in the pews, but your neighbors and friends, and really finding out what was going on. And through those conversations and house meetings, we were finding out that rent, inability to pay rent, inability to collect rent, right? If you're a smaller landlord or a landlord who's living off of a rental property, it was really difficult, you know, with the shutdowns happening, with the instability and whether or not you're going to have a job, do you qualify for unemployment, if you're undocumented, what type of economic support were you going to receive? And it's not just one issue that we were seeing, it was really, we saw families completely destabilized, emotionally, economically, to the point where we're seeing some families really causing harm to each other because of the stress and anxiety. How are they going to feed their families? How are they going to pay their rent? Are they going to get evicted? What's going to happen? And I know a lot of us, you know, felt that and continue to feel that as we go through this pandemic. So our parishes and Common Ground, and we all got together and we said, we have to do something about this. This isn't fair. And all this money is coming to the counties. We have to respond. We have to respond to those in need, to those who are most vulnerable, because we didn't know, and we still don't know, right, what the end date will be. And the recovery out of the pandemic is still ongoing, and we're still getting a better picture of it, but it's still going to be a long recovery process. So come August 2020, we hear this funding coming through, we start getting a plan together, and because of advocating and getting to know the stories and really telling what was going on in the community to our local government, to our board of supervisors, meeting with them, convincing them like this is a need. We were able to get Solano County to allocate almost $5 million. $5 million in CARES Act funding for emergency rental assistance. Now, I don't think anybody had ever seen a rental assistance program this big. And it was really a big undertaking, but it was something that we had to do. We had to do because our families were counting on us, our local business owners were counting on us as well. And so we got busy, we got designing a program. And in the end, we served 1,286 families who received over $4.1 million in emergency rental assistance. That's 1,286 households, our neighbors, our friends, who did not have to worry about being evicted, who did not have to worry about becoming homeless, or worry about whether or not their families were going to be separated because of living conditions. And when you think about that work, it all really happened because of the relationships that were built within the parishes, with community partners. And, it is a long-term effect. 1,286, still not enough. So just to give you a little bit of a landscape of what's going on now. Hopefully many of you have heard that the statewide rental assistance program has opened as of last night. For those of you in Yolo County, that will be the primary source of emergency rental assistance. And there is an online application. We invite you to check out housingiskey.com. That has the online application portal and screening tool, and you'll be able to upload supporting documents there. For those who are living in Solano County, we have a little different situation. Solano County will have 2 concurrent programs running. One will be administered by the state through the statewide program, again, housingiskey.com, and that is about $14 million intended to support Solano County residents and landlords. It does have its specific requirements, so again, I do invite you to check those out. We also will have in Solano County a locally administered emergency rental assistance program for about $13.3 million. Solano County will announce which organization will be administering the local program at they're scheduled to do it next Tuesday at the supervisors meeting. So again, if you are in need, if you know of somebody who is in need, the statewide program is open, housingiskey.com. And as I was saying before, all this work is really, we're able to do it because of our community support, because of our connections and our what we understand what our families are going through, but because of our donations as well. Our donations have allowed us to adapt and pivot and respond to the emerging needs as the COVID-19 pandemic has evolved. And of course, right, we're being responsible. We're going after these funding sources that are going to really make a big impact for those families who are most vulnerable and hopefully support the economic recovery in both counties. So I am going to ask John to see if our guests have arrived. Okay, so tonight I'm really excited to have 2 very special guests. We have Tina and Adriana, and they're very special because they were directly impacted by the CARES Act funding and program that we ran in Solano County. So if Tina and Adriana can please turn on the camera so we can have a conversation, please. Tina and Adriana, I'll have John work with them for a little bit. So kind of going back to what the heck happened in CARES Act, right? Actually, what's going on right now? Most of you heard we have a new relief package. Each of our counties will be receiving substantial funding, and that is directed for economic recovery, to support vaccination clinics, anything that the county and the community will need as we continue to respond and survive this COVID-19 pandemic. So if you are interested in sharing your thoughts, being part of the voice of the most vulnerable, we do invite you to check out our website at CCYOSO. So it goes Catholic Charities YOLOSolano.org. We have a lot of information of our services that we provide. And we also invite you to sign up, to receive our newsletter. We are part of Common Ground, which is an organizing community-based institution, and we gather our community members, we listen to the stories, we want to make sure that we are understanding the struggle of those who are living in poverty, who have been pushed to the poverty limit as well. And there's always 2 sides of the story, especially in rental assistance. Not only do we have renters who are suffering, we also have landlords. Some are larger corporations and some are smaller landlords, right, that may have 1 or 2 rental properties, and that's what they were their main source of income in their retirement maybe, or we have so many situations. And what we saw was that, oh, there we go. Hi, Tina.
I am sorry, we're having a little technical difficulty here. I was able to turn on the mute, turn off, but I don't know how to get the camera part to work. So
Okay, well, let's do this. While you're getting your camera to work, would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself,
absolutely.
Tina?
So my name is Tina Norman, and I have 3 apartment complexes here in Fairfield, California that that I own. The residents just know that I'm the supervisor, not the owner, and my resident is not here. So just saying that up front. And I worked with John and Anne Marie and different people. I've worked with Catholic Charities for well over 15 years. And so when this whole pandemic came about and when it was starting, I immediately contacted Catholic Charities and said, hey, you know, what's going to be happening here? What can we do? Because I knew that I would have to get in front of it. So that's what I did. And I worked with them, told them, what are we going to need? And just helped streamline the process for our residents, because I knew that they were going to, you know, they get overwhelmed. They don't know what's going on. They shut down when they get frustrated. So I knew if I knew what the process was going to be and what would be expected, I would be able to help them with that. So we did that as a team with our managers.
Great, thank you, Tina. I really appreciate you sharing that. And we'll start some questions here as we wait for your resident to show up. Tell us a little bit about how your relationship is with your residents. You know, I think many of us imagine that it's landlord-tenant, it's very business-like, but what has been your experience in your relationship with your residents?
I would have to say, oh, and just so you know, just real quick on the participants, when I click on it, all the videos has like a red thing. Like when I look at me, it has the microphone on and the camera off. So I just don't know how to turn on the camera.
Okay.
Anyway, so my relationship with my residents, do you access the camera? Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys might get to see my pretty face. Hi.
Hi, Tina.
Well, that worked. Anyways, so what I was saying is that the relationship with my managers is this, or my residents. A lot of our residents have been here for a long time, okay? And some of them 10 years, some of them longer. There's families here, there's single parents at the 3 different, the demographics of the 3 different complexes. One complex, we're close to the Air Force Base, so it's all families, elderly. That one, a lot of elderly people, some single parents. 2 others of our residents, 2 other complexes are predominantly Hispanic families, Spanish speaking and English speaking both. And so I was just, when this hit, I'm telling you, it was a lot of sleepless nights. I was really concerned for our tenants. And I kind of believe that we go a little beyond normal. Like when you have apartment complexes, you have more of a corporate environment. We're individual owners. We're a sole proprietorship. So we feel connected to our families, and I felt an obligation to help them out and to try and find out what was going to be out there available to them.
Oh my goodness, Tina. You know, I'd really like to know, you know, during your sleepless nights, were there particular worries that would pop up more, or certain families that you knew that this was not going to be an easy time for them?
Yeah. Yeah, there really was. There was families that, you know, families with children. Those were the ones that I was and elderly. I can't say there was one in particular, because this pandemic and this situation, it had no socioeconomic, everybody was there was nothing, you know, you might say in some situations, well, this community was impacted, or that community was impacted, or the higher income, middle income, lower income bracket. This one it was non-discriminatory. There was no nationality, there was no socioeconomic background, there was nobody that was off limits from this, you know? There was no family that wasn't potentially impacted. And so that caused me a lot of sleepless nights because I was concerned about all the families here, you know?
Mhm. And as a sole proprietor, what does it mean when your families aren't working, when they don't have steady income?
It means that, you know, so much in the business, we heard about the residents being impacted and stuff like that. We didn't hear a lot about owners being impacted. So when they can't pay their rent, I can't pay my mortgage. When they can't pay their rent, I can't pay the water bill. When they can't pay the rent, I can't pay to keep the lights on outside or my staff or all of that sort of thing. So that's why I said it was across the board. Nobody got to be let out. And that's why I knew I had to kind of get out in front of it and started contacting charities and putting our residents in touch with people, Catholic charities, the food bank, all the different things. And I was telling John when he was in my office and our resident Adriana was here that, that I would take pictures. Like she would say, I'm having a hard time with my unemployment. And so I'd say, okay, do this, this, and this. And they'd say, okay, you have to send it priority because they didn't get it. What's priority? I go to the post office. I get a priority envelope. I take a picture of it. I could go down and do this. Send this envelope to this here. You know, it was extra. It was more than what I normally would do. And I always keep an arm's length distance between. That's why there's managers at the property. Generally speaking, if I'm involved with a resident, it's not a good situation. We're facing eviction, you know, they're causing problems. They've been doing stuff. The managers handle the bulk of what's going on. If my phone rings and they say, I need help with this or that, it's because they've already done what they could and that it needs to go to the next level. In this situation, I had to take that arm's length, you know, distance and say, that's not going to work. I have to jump in and get involved with all of our residents. So that's what we had to do.
Sounds like you really had to step out of your role and be more, you know, sort of a case manager in a way for not only your survival, but the survival of your residents too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hope you don't mind this question, but what would have happened, you know, financially, had you not been able to access rental assistance funding?
We would have been in default on our mortgages for sure. You know, I would have had to default on the mortgages and see what we could do otherwise, because I can't let my crew go without pay. So I would have had to take the hit somewhere else.
That sounds stressful and not something that we want to do, right? I mean, if you go into foreclosure, that's 3 properties, and how many families would have displaced?
Right. It would have been bad.
Again, COVID-19 response, right? We have a health crisis. It's an economic crisis. It's really a human crisis in the sense of it really put to the test all of our relationships. And how much each other really means, or what do we mean to each other. And for me, I think it was a time of transformation, to really hear the struggle and the depression. I mean, we had families and applicants to this program who were calling in. They were on the brink of a mental health crisis.
For sure.
You know, and that's something that you don't really expect every day. You know, you hope to be a safety net. You hope to be a beacon of hope for others. But it was a very difficult time, and it will continue to be a difficult time as we come and deal with the trauma that COVID-19 caused. So let's talk about a little bit, you know, beyond rental assistance, for you, Tina. What needs do you see? What are your worries, you know, as a community member, but also as a property owner?
One of the things that I found with a lot of our residents was that, one of the things that there was a lot of things with our residents, you know, like going into their units and feeling safe, like to have maintenance done and stuff like that, and having to put everything on hold that wasn't an emergency. So if they had stuff done, and then when we could get to stuff, you know, making sure that everything was safe for both our residents and our staff, so that they could get in and do those kinds of things. That was a real initial, we got it down, like we're okay now, but that was a real thing. And just the overwhelming, the calls to the rental office, or to me, like that increased like you wouldn't believe. I would have to say the coming together of community. I'll tell you about one resident. It's not Adriana. We can talk about Adriana in a minute, but this one resident, she came into the, she came into the office because she had lost her job, and she wanted to immediately, like, you know, when we're feeling threatened, we've lost our job, we're scared, are we going to lose this? So she comes into the office and she's ready to she's hanging by a thread. And so because I already know about the charities and all that kind of stuff, I'm asking her questions. Have you filed for unemployment? Have you done this? Did you do that? When was your start date? When did you have your start date? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm asking her all these questions, and she became immediately suspicious that I didn't believe her, that she lost her job. Why are you asking me all these personal questions, all this kind of stuff? And I said, I have information. I'm trying to get to point you in the right direction to the right charity to get you this assistance. She wouldn't tell me anything. She was so guarded, and she was like, no. So then at the end of December, I knew that there was some additional funds that were left that still hadn't been used. And I called her, and I said to her, I need you to hear me. I need you to hear what I'm saying to you. And I said, you remember when I told you back then, and you thought I was, you know, not trusting you and all this kind of stuff? And she said, yeah. And I said, I'm telling you, I'm trying to help you, and you need to receive it. And I said, I have information. Do you want the help or not? And there was this long pause. And she started crying. She was sitting in a parking lot in the dark, crying, not knowing what she was going to do. And she said, yes, please. And she says, and I can't believe that you reached out to me again after the way I spoke to you and how I thought you were treating me. So I don't know about everybody on this panel, but for me personally, I have big faith, huge faith. And so that's where I go when things are wrong. And I told her, I said, every time I call you, you answer the phone, because I might have information that's going to make a difference. And I said, and I am for you, and you need to hear me. I'm not against you. I'm not attacking you. I'm not going to overstep my bounds. I'm reaching out because I am for you. So with the residents, and when you ask about that, I believe that you hear about everything negative in the world, all these different movements, and I don't want to get into the political thing, but it's all been angry and hostile, and this nationality against that nationality, or this. And what I have found in our complexes and with our residents, exactly the opposite. I've seen a sense of community develop. I've seen neighbors reaching out to neighbors. I've seen management, my staff, everyone, they tell me, they say if somebody's I get a call. I was in a unit. I didn't see much food in the cupboard. Okay, grocery outlet, here I come. You know what I mean? So we've had these over and over again. So for all the negative, you got to look for the blessings, and that's what I've seen at all three of our complexes with everyone. It's truly been amazing.
Wow, Tina, it's kind of hard not to cry. But thank you for sharing and sharing your vulnerability and that experience, because a lot of times, we don't see that. It's not on the news. It's not something that we share with everybody, but it's happening, in homes right next to us, and we don't know the struggle.
Right.
So thank you for shining a light on that. And I think Adriana is on, so we'll invite her to join as well.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Sorry
Hi.
about that. My apologies.
No, no apologies necessary. We're just glad you were able to make it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Adriana. Um,
So I am a single mom and was put out of work and was having a hard time to pay my rent. I was cut off of my unemployment and and um, and wasn't able to pay my rent, for a bit, and was having to be in, communication with Tina, who was very helpful. It was like a blessing when she had called and mentioned to me, about the program. And I had already been looking into a different one to try to get some assistance. It was like Seasons of Sharing, I believe. And she said, well, Catholic Charities is willing to help. And I was just like, it was such a stress relief. Like it was a blessing. I was like, thank you. This is wonderful, so but yeah, it helped me with that during that rough patch, because I was, like I said, still kind of pulling myself out of a rough patch. But it's, hard. It's just myself again, like I said, and my son. I do have a 17-year-old daughter I see from time to time, but I just got a new job, so I will start that. That I'm glad that fell through too finally. So some things are still, I'm a work in progress. I'm getting back from this whole COVID thing because it has just taken a toll. I mean, more than I could have imagined. So
thank you. Thank you for sharing. Tell us a little bit about, what you were imagining, say March of last year, March, April, when we're shutting down.
When we were shutting down, the company I was working for, it was a dealership, and it's like they were cutting back like sales staff. But as far as like, I worked in the maintenance department, so I really, at first, it didn't affect me to the extent where it landed up affecting me later on, like in July, when there's like nobody's allowed out. No, they were like really cracking down. Is when I really seen the severity in it. And then, the unemployment. And then shortly after that, like with all the fraud and everything going on, and they tell me I ran out of it. And I'm just like, I never imagined myself having to go through this type of a pandemic, maybe in my lifespan. Like that was something that never crossed my mind. You know what I mean? I mean, the world has overcome a lot of different diseases and, things that have taken a lot of lives before we got our, handle on it. And it's just, it's kind of life-changing to kind of deal with that. I kind of ask my son every now and then. I know my daughter dealt with some anxiety and, different things like that. So it's just, it's definitely been a crazy year. Definitely.
Crazy year for sure. So, what does it mean for you that, well, one, to have housing, right? Where you live, your home, be something that maybe was not a sure thing.
It's scary. It's so scary and stressful. And like I said, I have my son, and I'm like, you know, to have to even imagine being homeless, or myself being homeless, and having to tell my son, okay, hey, you're going to have to, stay with daddy, and you won't be able to come with mommy when it's your turn. And, it's, it's something, you don't want to think about. I mean, where am I going to put my stuff? How am I going to afford to store my stuff that I have? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a scary thing. I mean, definitely to feel like you lost everything, I lost my job. Now I'm losing my apartment. You know what I mean? It was just, it's a very overwhelming, scary feeling.
Wow. And so, some people, may see like landlord and a resident having a very, business-like relationship. Is that something that you have experienced? And if you did, did it change as we're going through this pandemic?
Definitely, I would say yes. Mine and Tina's relationship was very business at first. And when I actually spoke with her more often, our connection changed, our relationship changed. It did. I feel like it did bring us closer together. She was, helping me out in other ways that I was like, I never would have had this information. Teaching me different ways of going about, getting it to where I can track my mail. I mean, just, little pointers here and there. And it just, to me, it really did, for her to call me up and say, Adriana, I want to offer this to you. And I was so thankful to her and blessed to have you guys, to have that, to offer to families, because, it was very helpful. And definitely, it definitely did change Tina and myself's relationship, as far as being more open. I'm not afraid to answer the phone for her. I'm quick to answer the phone. I'm quick to call her and give her an update, like, this is what's going on. And this, so it definitely has. I mean, we didn't have that kind of, communication before. And it's like, we text each other very often, at least once a week, if not more. So,
wow.
just kind of like updates on, everything that's going on. So I'm very appreciative, of her as well, like I said, and thankful for her to, be willing to work with me and help me through this rough time, because it's not easy. So.
Wow. I mean, again, right, it's the pandemic is pretty much described health, economic, but as Tina was mentioning earlier, you really have to look at the positives, and that opportunity to build that connection, right, that emotional and personal connection with somebody who has an interest in your well-being, right, and I believe it's mutual. So that's very beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was so grateful, and I am still so grateful. So very.
And just to switch a little bit, because that is a very positive feeling, but we're still not out of the woods yet. We're still learning how to recover and finding out what's next in this pandemic journey. For you as a mother, as a community member, what are your worries, for the next couple of months?
My worries are really kind of seeing how things go. I mean, I hear the positive stuff. I know we try to stay positive with the vaccines and stay hopeful with all of those things. But I'm actually in the medical field, so to speak, background. I have I started school for RN, and just knowing a little bit of the stuff, it's scary still for me, because I feel like what you said, we're not out of the woods yet. Yeah, they are coming up with vaccines and numbers are dropping. But, they say at minimum 2 to 3 years for a vaccine to be accurate. And this is really fast. And I understand the rapidness of why they wanted to do it, but it's kind of scary. I mean, not all vaccines have been proven to actually have been effective. And some people, have passed, due to getting it. It's still scary. So it kind of leaves me with like an uneasy, I'm not sure, you know what I mean, kind of what to expect. I can hope for the best, and I hope that these, things are being effective in a way to get, a better handle on things. My son wants to go back to school, and I can only imagine, it's only 2 hours. They're taking all the precautions, and he's like, I want to go. And I'm scared for him to go, but I'm going to allow him to go. I've always been big on wash your hands, even at recess, if you didn't go to the bathroom before the pandemic. So I am just, it's one of those things, like, we fear it, but what do? Stay continuing to live cooped up and So I'm hopeful that, like I said, that the progress that the medical field is working on and trying to get a handle on things is working, because that would be a lot more of a better feeling, maybe, to predict what would be.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Adriana. Thank you so much for sharing and, opening up your experience to us. Again, many of us may not know what it's like to have that uncertainty in employment, to, what's going to happen to my family. But I think we all share in your hope, and that things are turning around, that we are on a good, positive path. There's still a lot of programs and help that are coming forward, and we hope that we are being attentive to the most urgent needs.
Right.
Yeah, I think for just to jump in here for one quick minute, if I may, that Adriana, she just kept pushing forward, and it was funny because I told her, like she said, we had a business relationship, and it kind of transformed a little bit because, like I said, my managers are here. I am the supervising manager, don't have to usually step in, but I had to in this situation to step in. Adriana she's still behind in her rent, and it's not her fault. She applied for unemployment, and she's been in the big circle jerk of unemployment. And so she sent her paperwork in, and then it was denied, and then she had to do an appeal, and she's still going to get all those funds eventually, hopefully. So for her, even though she knows, like, she's very grateful and she's feeling wonderful about having this new job, she has this debt that at some point is going to have to be paid. And her and I've talked about that, and I've told her, you just have to keep going. You have to do this. And the other day, and she was the one that I sent the picture to of how to send something priority mail.
Yes.
And I said to her, you cannot give up. If you sit on hold for 8 hours, you don't have a job. Sit on hold for 8 hours. Do not give up. And it was really kind of funny because however many days later, she would call me. She would send me text messages or call me or whatever. And she said, Tina, I was sitting on the hold, and you're not going to believe it. I finally got through, and I kept going over in my head. You said, do not give up.
Give up. Yep. It did not leave my brain. She's exactly right. I was like 2.5 hours
in my head.
Literally.
I've never had a resident say that I'm in their head, that they hear my voice in their head.
Well, I think that's it's definitely a theme of the year, right? Don't give up.
No,
don't give up.
You cannot, and you cannot give up. And I mean, this is caused, like I said, I mean, I have spent many sleepless nights as just as everyone else has. The hard part for me is, like, each family is concerned about their family. Adriana's concerned about her family. All of our residents are concerned about their families. I'm concerned about my family. And then on top of that, I'm concerned about all of the residents. So I wake up often wondering, oh my gosh, I wonder if this person got through, or I wonder if this happened or that happened, or do they have enough food, or do they, it's been overwhelming. But like I said, we always hear so much of the negative in the press about everything that's going wrong. That's the news media. That's the outlets, let anything that they can say about the negative.
Right.
I haven't heard anything about people who are coming together and making it happen. And that's what we're trying to do here at Clay Bank, the other two complexes, with our residents. And like I said, I've seen it across the board. And I've seen Adriana just pull herself up by her bootstraps and just keep marching, because there is no other option. You can fold and you can give up, or you can keep marching. And she has pushed through and kept putting her applications out there, kept talking to unemployment, kept doing everything. And she calls me one day and she goes, you're not going to believe it, I got a job. I'm like, yeah, and I don't say to her, you're not going to believe it, because I'm on the other end here crying. But I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her because she did her work. She hung in there. She didn't give up. And she's still not through with unemployment. So we don't know what's going to happen there, but we just keep marching.
Yeah, definitely.
It's wonderful, Tina, Adriana. Thank you so much for sharing and, letting us understand what it's really like, day to day, and the worries and the hope and all the good things that come out of bad situations like the pandemic. We do understand that not everybody has a guardian angel like Tina, and not everybody, right, has opportunities to keep going forward as Adriana has. And we are concerned, we are concerned for those who are hidden, who are afraid. But it's important for all of us as a community, and for us as Catholic Charities, to be always reaching out, to be in constant communication, and to be able to respond, to that one person that really represents a whole family, whatever need they have as the pandemic continues. And hopefully, recovery is faster than expected, but we're always hopeful and wanting to provide as much assistance as we can. So we are about 15 minutes away from the end of the event, and I did want to open it up to see if there were any questions. I think John has been monitoring some of the chat, and he can also facilitate some of the questions. Let's see, John, do we have any questions?
In that, there was a question regarding eligibility. This is for Tina. Eligibility for a PPP loan.
Eligibility for a what?
For a PPP loan, if you were eligible for that.
So just to give clarity, the PPP is referring to the Paycheck Protection program that allowed some businesses to apply for a loan to cover personnel expenses and a certain percentage of operating expenses. I don't know if you are all familiar, but there was like several rounds of funding, and assistance is great. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes it's not accessible. So we hope, right, that a lot of our local businesses were able to take advantage of that program. Let's see. So we have Charmaine, who has raised her hand. Charmaine, do you have a question?
Yeah, that was my question about the PPP loans, because, I'm hearing your story and you were trying to help all of your residents, but I'm kind of sad to hear that you were not able to help yourself because that PPP loan would have helped your staff. You could have, well, I'm not sure what the eligibility rules were for that either. So maybe I could have, maybe I couldn't have. But,
I think I believe the accountant did look into it for us, and that wasn't something that was viable at the time. The blessing part about this is, and like I said, I'm a gal of huge faith, is that we were able to refer so many of our residents to Catholic Charities. And we did have some, some in your business, in business, you set aside certain funds and things like that. So we moved through, we did it very judiciously, and we were just very, all of our staff, we didn't have to lay off a single person. All of our staff was able to stay and collect paychecks and do all of that. So really, like I said, it was just navigating the waters through all of this and getting out in front of it. And we did that. And I have to say that Catholic Charities and there's seasons of sharing, but predominantly all of our assistance came through Catholic Charities and the program that they manage. So I truly do hope that Catholic Charities gets the bid to handle this, because they were so professional on top of it. And, I can't imagine any organization more equipped to handle that kind of funding, for sure.
Thank you, Tina. We appreciate your support, and that's our mission, to support the most vulnerable, and we support in any which way we can, right? Whether we are awarded a contract or another organization is awarded a contract, our goal is to connect the most vulnerable, our friends and neighbors who are in need, to the assistance that's available. I think there was a little bit of a question earlier about the funding or the programs that are available. So I just do want to recap that because I did it at the beginning, but I want to make sure I do it again. As of last night at 5 p.m., the statewide emergency rental assistance program has opened. And we do invite you to visit housingiskey.com. That is a statewide website. The state is administering all of the funds for Yolo County residents. So Yolo County residents, tenants, and landlords are able to apply through the statewide portal. Again, the website is the best source for eligibility and documents that will be required. And the statewide program also has certain payment options or debt relief options available. So for Yolo County, that will be your main source of emergency rental assistance through the statewide program. For Solano County residents, like John explained earlier, there will be 2 ongoing programs. One will be administered by the statewide emergency rental assistance program, again, housingiskey.com. And they will be administering about $14 million for Solano County. Again, tenants and landlords residing in Solano County are able to apply through the statewide program. The other program will be administered locally or managed locally by a local nonprofit or organization. The local program will provide about $13 million of emergency rental assistance. The Solano County Board of Supervisors are scheduled to announce who will receive the contract at their next Board of Supervisors meeting on March 23rd. So I do invite you to tune into their meeting. A lot of interesting information is shared at those meetings. Again, the statewide program is the only program that's open right now, housingiskey.com. Each county has local community partners who have signed up to either provide education, outreach, or application assistance. For Yolo County, for example, Empower Yolo is one of those organizations. So if you are affiliated or know of Empower Yolo, they will be providing assistance. In Solano County, we have Community Action North Bay, who is a local partner for the statewide program. Again, the website is the best source of information. Please stay tuned. Please sign up for our newsletter so you can get the most updated information. Let's see, I see a couple more things going on here on the chat. Okay, so what percentage of renters are behind in rent? I believe that might be a question for Tina, but I will give some CARES Act data just so that we can have that for everybody. So for Solano County Emergency Rental Assistance Program that we ran for the CARES Act funding from September through December, we received over 1,500 applications. Of those applications, 1,286 were eligible and received assistance. So Tina, I'm not sure if you are able to share how many or what percentage of residents in the complexes that you manage are behind on rent.
Well, we caught a lot of people up through Catholic Charities at the end of December, but since still behind because there was a cap. I think there was like $4,000 per household, and so there were people that were more than that behind. But we did get a lot of catch up, and now I'm starting to see it kind of happening again. So I am actually not in my in my other office where I have all of that. But I would say kind of a pretty good percentage at each place, maybe 25% or better can be just somehow behind a little bit. Now you said through the state one, did you say Community Action North Bay is handling the state one right now?
They are a local community partner, so they can either be providing education, outreach, or application assistance. So you'd have to contact them directly to see how they can support
got
you.
it.
And they're listed on the state website as well as a local.
And what is that state? Is that the housingiskey.com? That's the state website? Okay.
Yes, and John also put it in the chat for the direct link. please check it out. It's a great resource. We do have another question. Will there be assistance for those without internet access? For the statewide program, from what we understand, that's the local community partners in each county may be able to assist with in-person application support. But again, the website does not provide whether or not there will be in-person application at the local community partners. So we do ask that you call them and find out what's available in your local area.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we made available to our residents. Each one of our managers had a thing. And I can't tell you how many times our managers, myself or others, sat with residents putting together each little thing. And I was telling John that should you guys get this thing together, it would be fantastic if like, say for myself, for example, if an application was emailed to me with a list that said what the tenant needs to provide, what the landlord needs to provide. Because what I did with these packages with John, once we got into figuring out the system, is I would send my manager, and half the stuff we have in their file. I have a copy of their drivers. I have a copy of their rental agreement. I have a copy of their social security. All they had to do is bring me their COVID letter from their employer and maybe their last couple of paycheck stubs. Right. I, being in office, can scan that stuff and scan everything all in one fell swoop and send it in one package. And I did that with John many times. He'd say, I'm looking for this, or I'm scan, send, here you go. and the residents don't have the ability to do that. So we as landlords, I felt like it was incumbent on me and my office and our staff to help facilitate that as well. So
that's wonderful. I mean, that's something that we saw, especially those with limited internet access or limited technology literacy, right? It's very difficult to navigate a whole new process where you may not have, if you've never applied for assistance, this is the first time, you just don't have the experience. And so unfortunately, that also deterred many from applying because it's, intimidating. Down. Yeah. Alrighty, folks, we are 2 minutes shy of 7 o'clock. I want to thank Tina and Adriana. Thank you so much for sharing your evening and your experience with us. It's really a blessing to have this opportunity to hear what others are going through and how your relationship developed. That's really a bright positive for me out of this pandemic. Again, thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. Hopefully you've had dinner, or you have dinner soon. Again, check out our website, follow us on social media, support us in any way you can. Your voice can help many others connect to very much needed assistance. So share information, go on the websites, get as much information as you can so we can save our brothers and sisters who are struggling. Again, thank you and good night to everyone.